Hi, I'm Josanne Wright Callender, the author of the Happy Little Garbage Truck Picture Book and Educational System. This is one of the most gratifying activities and ventures that I launched in quite a while because it has all of the tips and tools that I could think of that a teacher could use in teaching literacy and social skills to children. And as a special education teacher for the past 27 years, I thought this was a wonderful distillation with different levels of approaching the subject, comprehension, vocabulary, and social skills, so that all children can acquire these skills, which is why I say all children can learn when learning is fun, because I put a huge dose of fun activities in each of my lessons. So check it out. And our store is open, and I'll put that information in the description box. But without further ado, I started these blogs or these talks back a year ago because I wanted to share more tips and tools with teachers and parents on how we can build a healthy mindset in our children, which was the focus of the book, The Happy Little Garbage Truck. It's building self esteem. So each of these talks have just sort of exploded into other conversations and talk um, rabbit holes, if so to speak, because as I started researching different points of these different levels of what does it take to build and structure a healthy mindset, I it was an unfolding picture of more and more depth and texture that I just really appreciated. And one of these topics currently is the locus of control. Now, I mentioned before that I heard about this phrase when I was in education, studying education back in my college days at Wayne State University. And I thought this was such an intriguing perspective that it depends on a person's almost perception of who is in control that really guides them through life. And most of the time, people aren't really aware if they're letting external forces control their thinking, or if it's really how they want and their authentic self. Is it really what you're thinking? Or so anyhow, let's get into it. So it all has to do with when things happen. Do you feel that you're under the control of outside forces, or do you feel as though you have control over the outcome? So that's the internal or external locus of control. And so the first individual believes and has these traits, takes responsibility for their actions and choices, tends to be less influenced by the opinions of others, often works better when working at their own pace, and they're typically self starters. And then lastly, these individuals tend to feel confident in facing challenges, and they're usually physically healthier. Now, this doesn't have to do with someone who's has all of these traits, but the scale is weighed heavily toward these particular traits. And I thought this was really important because we're talking about goal setting for our children. And a lot of times we're going to run into roadblocks and speed bumps and things that would derail us from our focus, our intended goal. And as we're helping, as role models, helping our children perceive that when these things happen, that they still can use their mind to think of ways around it, coming up with a plan B. So that's why I thought this locus of control conversation was pretty pertinent, um, because we're really working very hard to get our children to achieve high hope goals, as we saw in C.R. Snyder's article of the hope theory, because that increases the the level of drive that a person has to achieve more goals. And it has a lot to do with brain chemistry with dopamine and endorphins that are released when people have high hopes. So, as I was looking at that, I thought, well, how do we get around these obstacles? And then it came to me that it might have to do with our own perception of what we can or can't do as individuals. So that's how we got to locus of control. Well, people who feel externally controlled, that it has not as much to do with how they feel or think, these are their traits, blaming outside forces for their circumstances, crediting luck or chance. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time for successes. They don't believe that they can change their situation through their own efforts. How did you get to that right place? You had to go there. I do believe God directs our steps. It's my personal belief. But I do believe that we have to make the effort to be in the right place at the right time. Frequently feel hopelessness or powerlessness in the face of difficult situations. And they don't believe they could change their situation through their own efforts, are more prone to experience learned helplessness. So we see that we would like our children to have a healthier self esteem. And if you have an external locus of control, it tends to make a person more depressed because they feel as though there is nothing that they can do to get out of the situations. So, we're going to look a little bit more deeply at this in our next conversation. Please subscribe, please share, and I'll continue to dig deeper and research this topic so that we'll have more understanding in our next meeting. Thank you so much. Bye bye.